the Premier's Council on Arts and Culture. Now, the department reported in 09-10 that the cultural policy had been championed by the Premier's Council on Arts and Culture, and that it is an agency of the department, and its members are appointed and report to the Minister. Its mandate, in its terms of reference, is to champion the cultural policy, and that the Chair of the Council regularly communicates with the Minister to share insights of the Council with him. That seems to be all that's required of them. So last year when I asked about this, I was told with some asperity by the Minister that they had exceeded their requirement of meetings and had actually met 4 times instead of 2 that was required. But I'm still not understanding what it is exactly that the Minister sees as the Council's role in championing and developing the arts. And perhaps he could give me some examples of what the outcomes are. Had they produced any documents, anything on paper that anybody could look at, or was there a business plan, or had there been recommendations, for example? That's what you get from the Seniors Council, or what used to be the Women's Council. You get recommendations. It just seems like this council exists, but I can't find what they do, and there's nothing on paper. So, and it's perhaps the Minister just wishes them to meet and to share insights with him. But I'll be interested in what that is. On to the cuts, and I did point out that a number of groups took cuts around 15%. What I'm interested in seeing is that the 2 departments that took the hardest hit and were also amongst the smallest departments last year were Service Alberta and Culture. So the Minister talks about, well, we all had to tighten our belts and we all have to pull our weight and we all have to contribute to this. But I'm curious as to why the Minister thinks that his ministry was one of the 2 that was particularly singled out, especially since it's not a lot of money. They didn't exactly balance the budget on the backs of, a couple of $1 million that they took out of culture and community spirit. And I'm wondering, in addition to why he thinks it happened, what's been done. And I kept asking this question last year, and there wasn't much pickup on it. But what has been done to measure the impact of the cuts and to assist in the recovery of the organizations and artists in this year, next year, and beyond? They've all had a huge cut. And now they're stabilized, but much down from where they were. So how do we know how they are? And when we talk about capacity and excellence and organizational health, what is the department's administration doing to put that into effect? In addition, around the budget cuts, the Minister said that he, and I quote, fervently believed that there was 10 to 15% waste in the ministry, either through inefficiency or bloated programs, and that appears in Hansard on page CS 261. Was the Minister able to locate this inefficiency or bloat, and where was it? I'm assuming he didn't find 10 to 15% of it, but you never know. Maybe he did, and it went somewhere else. So those are a set of questions on the Council on the Arts and on specifically on the cuts. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
All right. Well, I've got some documents that I would like to distribute if I'm allowed to do that. First of all, the first question was the Premier's Council on Arts and Culture. And I have a slide deck here that I think the Honourable Member would like to see, and I would have, if I may, have those distributed. Do we have more?
Sure. Honourable Minister, perhaps you could table those.
Okay. I can certainly do that.
That might be better.
Okay. And the first question was about the Premier's Council.
You're up in it.
Okay. The Premier's Council advises the Minister of policy changes. One of the challenges they have is that we've been moving pretty fast in our department. We've had 3 different series of dialogues across Alberta. We started out in December of 2009 through January 2010. We had another session that was in September, October of 2010, and we were in places like Fort McMurray and Grand Prairie and Red Deer, Edmonton, Calgary, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Cold Lake, and I know there's another one that I'm missing. But we sat down and had meetings with arts organizations and for not-for-profit organizations. But for this particular relevance, we'll talk about the not-for-profit organizations. And I will table our copies of the dialogue sessions which went online a couple of days ago. And that is responses to the initial dialogue sessions that we had a year ago, some of the things that we were working to improve upon, and then having feedback from that and going back on the second one, what we've heard, what people have submitted online, and what they've heard in person from those different areas. And I thought it was important that I have my government officials, people from my department, getting out to these different areas to actually experience and hear from firsthand what's going on from these individuals. Too often in Edmonton, we create our policies in a vacuum, and we forget that Alberta is very diverse. People in Lethbridge are not the same as people in Fort McMurray, and they're not the same in Grand Prairie as they are in Hinton. So we have to recognize that, and we have to make sure that our programs suit all of those. And the Premier's Advisory Council were parcel of those dialogues and passing on information. But the information they gave, a lot of that was the information that we had received from the individuals through those different dialogues. But I do meet with the chair every couple of months, and we talk about a multitude of different things. One of those things that they encouraged a lot was to start telling our story in a more effective manner. So here in this slide presentation, it shows just an example of things that we have done in the last 3 years. The Montrose Cultural Centre in Grand Prairie, the Olds College Fine Arts and Multimedia Centre in Olds, the new TELUS World of Science, which will open in Calgary this October, the Southern Alberta Art Gallery opened last September, the new Canadian Sports Hall of Fame that we're going to open in July of this year, the new Mont Royal Conservatory, the shovel's about to go in the ground, the Nina Haggerty Centre for the Performing Arts for here in Edmonton, the Ghost Centre, the beautiful Art Gallery of Alberta, the Rosebud Theatre expansions, La Cité Francophone, Athabasca Regional Multiplex, the Medicine Hat Clay District National Historic Site, the Edmonton Humane Society, upgrades to the Citadel Theatre, the Jubilee Auditoriums, which are 2 of the top 100 performing theatre venues in the world. They ranked last year 40 and 46, and only Massey Hall ranked in the top 100 in Canada. The Old Bailey Theatre, 101 years old, which refurbished when we opened this year, and the Canmore Opera House, to name just a few. And I tell you, when I gave that presentation to the Minister of Canadian Heritage and Official Languages, he was shocked because, there is no other province in Canada that has one of those programs, one of those buildings going on. And that's our cultural policy coming to life, because that builds access, that builds the capacity, that fosters the excellence, and that certainly supports our cultural industries. Now, you want to measure the impact. Well, there is that, but our dialogue sessions, again, it is talking to people directly and having them tell us exactly what that is. And yes, I understand 16% is a lot of money to a lot of organizations, but we also have increased funding to AFA in the last 6 years by 55%. 55%. And the amount that we had to reduce is smaller than most of the provinces that are bordering on either side of us. And yes, my budget, I think wholeheartedly that we spend $1 more effectively than any other department in government, and you will get a greater bang for the buck. We have $9 billion of GDP that we create for the not-for-profits, and we create $4.54 billion of gross domestic product out of creative industries. Lastly, locating inefficiency. We've done a fantastic job of doing that for the last 3 years, and there will be dollars that we will have found this year, and I did promise arts organizations, if we found dollars, that they would receive some of those dollars back. So the end of the month is about a week away, so stay tuned.
Honourable member.
Great. Well, I am really interested in hearing where the inefficiency and bloat was and how much money you're able to redistribute as a result of that. I know that it's good political spin for the minister to keep saying there was a 55% increase in the funding for the AFA. But I lived through that. And between 1989 and 2005, there was, for all intents and purposes, no increase, not even cost of living. So as I ran a theatre company or tried to work in theatre companies and they tried to go out and buy set pieces or tap shoes or whatever else, they were trying to buy it at 2001 prices using $1989. So we more than earned that 55%. That was not an increase. You could clearly look at that as cost of living. And everybody else got it. Transportation got it, municipalities got it, everybody else got it, we didn't get it. So I know he needs to say that in order to repair some things, but I'm sorry, you get no standing ovation from me on that one. What we had was coming up to, I think it should have been even more than it was, but we were all very appreciative of the money we got, and there has been a decrease from that, and it's affecting all of us because now we're trying to deal in 2011 dollars to buy things, to buy paper, to buy, art paper, acid-free paper, and all the rest of that. So it really makes a difference to us. I'll just climb down off my high horse and get on with it. Okay, under cultural